Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, good morning. I bring you House Bill 1322. LC number is LC 550240. This is a department bill, one of three this session that addresses hemp. And to quickly summarize, there's four primary components to the bill. Component one includes packaging restrictions for hemp and specifically requires a couple of things for hemp product packaging. And that is, it must be composed of material designed to minimize exposure to light and mitigate exposure to high temperatures. Is not attractive to children. Is not a look-alike product, and is tamper evident and child resistant. All right. Component two is on the advertising side. It includes advertising restrictions on packaging and specifically targets and prohibits advertising that is attractive to children, and also any advertising on packaging that misrepresents itself as low THC oil. Component three includes retail store restrictions to include the prohibition of selling or distributing consumable hemp products if the store is located less than 1,000 feet from a school, and retail stores would also be prohibited from advertising themselves as a dispensary or seller of low THC oil. Finally, component four conforms state law to mirror the federal legal limit for Delta 9 THC concentration measurement as set forth in Title 7 of the U.S. Code, which currently has a legal limit of 0.3%. So that's quickly summarizing the bill. Four primary components. And Mr. Chairman, if you allow it, I have someone who's much more eloquent than I on this topic, and I'd like to let her give some details, if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Catherine, you want to go over a little bit, some other comments?
Certainly. I can tell you that, first of all, thank you for indulging us in hearing all three of our hemp bills. Um, I do appreciate your attention there. And I also think that maybe I haven't shared this prior and should have, but we've been working on this package over the interim, and we have worked with hemp retailers, hemp wholesalers, medical marijuana companies, law enforcement, prosecutors, sheriffs. So, and they all have been supportive of the direction that we're trying to take the department. So I feel like I would be remiss if I didn't mention that. Um, this bill is a little bit more restrictive than what we've seen prior. Um, it's pretty straightforward. It's modeled. I would tell you that the first section where we talk about restricting advertising so that the packaging is not attractive to children, and that is modeled after the Florida law. I don't know if any of you guys have heard. They had an event they called Operation Candy Crush, and the Georgia Department of Agriculture moved through Florida, and they removed, I think, 7,000 products off of the shelves that were all products that were either considered attractive to children or look-alike products. And so, what I'm going to actually do is I wish this were a little bit bigger, but I've got 2 pages I'd like to pass around. And when this flyer comes by, you can see that there's packaging for Nerds, Lifesavers, Skittles, Jolly Ranchers, that upon first inspection or to an unsophisticated reader such as a child, this would be potentially very confusing. I've got a couple of other samples here. I picked up this Rice Krispie, maybe it's Fruity Pebbles treat from a store over the interim. This particular treat has 300 milligrams of Delta 9 THC in it. On average, it takes about 10 to get someone high, and there are about 30 of those in here. And my child, who's 2, grabbed it off the counter and started trying to unwrap it, and it was one of the scariest things I've ever witnessed. Here are some gummies that these are actually HHC, which is a new up and coming intoxicant, but these offer watermelon rings, which are very similar to candies that you would see in stores right now. anyway, so the first section of the bill, we're outlawing what would be considered attractive to children or lookalike products. Beyond that, we're restricting advertising such that a store can't call itself a dispensary to help control confusion. As I know there are some people in the community, in different communities, who will talk about a dispensary and they're actually just talking about a shop that sells hemp products rather than going ahead and recognizing that, and they fail to recognize that it is not a low THC dispensary as we have provided for in law for medical marijuana in the state. There's another restriction in here for locations near retail stores. I just pulled this from the restrictions that we currently have in place in the alcohol code. This is not retroactive. In fact, it doesn't even go into place until July of this year. And so it would just prohibit stores locating within 1,000 feet from a school beginning in July of this year and moving forward. And then the last section, this is a little bit tricky, but what we've done is we're conforming the way that we look at Delta 9 THC concentrate in the state, and we are conforming that to what's already required by the feds. So in 7 CFR 990, there are clear instructions about how you calculate total THC. And that's the measurement that you use to determine whether or not something is hemp or marijuana. That's not been incorporated into our state code. And I think that there are some people who would like to be confused by that. But as we all know, we have a supremacy clause in our country. And if there is something passed by the feds, the states have to follow suit. We cannot override them. So we have this directive that has been established by the federal government, and we are simply conforming to that. But we're doing it in such a way that it's clear to the prosecutors what is and is not legal, and in hopes also that it'll be clear to any store, retailer, or consumer.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the work on this bill. And I really thank Commissioner Harper and you and others who really want to tackle this problem. I think we all really see several issues. We've got laws about consumer hemp, and it's just, we just need to make sure these products adhere to the law. And I know a lot of them have, these products are outside the legal limits, and trying to get a handle on that is very important, as well as our children, protected them from these, some of these products that I consider to be dangerous. And so, thank you for wanting to tackle this. We've got some questions, if you stand by, from the committee. Chairman Corbett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Representative Cannon, for bringing this bill, much needed. My question on the if somebody violates this, what are the penalties for that? Is that in here?
I'm trying to remember which.
Or revoking their license, or what?
I apologize. I'm trying to remember what was established
no,
in the
first and
second
second.
bill versus this one. So if this bill passes along with the licensing bill,
That was my second. Is it covered
'cause it's
in the
not, it's not
licensing
addressed
bill? That's what I
individually
wanted to make sure everybody saw that it's covered in the other bills.
Yes.
The
So
3-prong approach that we
That's
are
right.
taking.
That's right. So we would have the opportunity to pull any non-compliant or illegal product from the shelves to protect the consuming public. And then if we have repetitive problems with a licensee, we'll have the option to seek administrative action, criminal action, or revoke the license.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And Mr. Chairman, I know we normally require 2 hearings on a bill, but I know this late time in the session, if the urgency of this is, I would love to make a motion if it be the will of the chairman at the proper time.
We'll take that. Well, it'll be up to the committee today what they want to do. So thank you for that offer. But we've got about 7 or 8 people in the audience who want to speak to this bill that we'll try to get to them. Got a couple more from the committee. Representative Carter.
Thank you. Okay, first I need clarity. I'm not a gummy person. So did I hear you say, or are you saying that gummies are sold in stores other than hemp stores?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
They're
Okay.
sold in gas stations, and they're sold. There's no restriction
man.
on where things are being sold currently.
Okay. And how will we enforce? Because this sounds like since they're in locations other than hemp designated retail stores, how will the state of Georgia enforce this law or control what's happening?
So that's the current state that they're being sold in a number of places. So you may remember with our licensing bill, we'll require that you cannot sell these products without being a licensed retailer. And at that point, we will know, and we can go visit
Okay.
every year stores that are selling hemp product.
Okay, so that means they will no longer be sold in gas stations and convenience stores.
Oh, theoretically, if a gas station wanted to become a retail seller, they could.
Okay,
They would just have to be registered with the department.
okay. Thank you.
And I think on those other bills, we set those licensing fees pretty low. I think, I can't recall.
There's a range based on volume, and I asked for them to be low.
Yeah.
For instances where we have a store that maybe just sells a handful of product, and that we would base all that on volume.
Okay. Representative Thomas.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for bringing this bill, Representative Cannon. My question is, will there be any education or awareness to any of the retailers who are currently selling that would not be able to sell anymore unless they have licensing? So like, how is the Department of Agriculture going to be able to get the word out to retailers such as gas stations that may be selling these products?
I think that's a great idea. One of the things that our commissioner has really started focusing on is making sure that we are communicating with the public, and we're making sure that they're informed of what the department is doing. And I think that it would be important for us to make sure that the public is aware as we start moving into phasing in to our new scheme.
Okay, so you're saying, just one little follow-up, Chairman, if you would. So you're saying that there will be an advertisement or education awareness campaign around this, centered around this?
We if that's important to you, I think that's
Mhm.
definitely something that we can move forward with and discuss. It's not included in the bill,
Right.
though. That's just administrative practice.
Okay, thank you.
Representative Stinson.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Representative, for your work on this legislation. But my question is kind of in line with what she just stated, but it's more relating to, and I'm just going to quickly share, I'll be very brief. I had a very unfortunate experience with these gummies. I was at a conference, and I was given a little pack and didn't realize that what they were, because it was just a pack with nothing, it didn't have a label on it. And I was at a conference and was given this, and I end up eating more than I needed to eat, and I had a very unpleasant experience. And I was at a funeral home conference actually, and I was given these things. So how would we regulate things like that? And when people are having access to these and at conferences, how would they know that there's a license now that they have to have in order to distribute these type of gummies? That's
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I thought your question was going one direction,
I'm
and
sorry.
then it took a turn.
I'm sorry.
So, if individuals are dispensing